Hey guys, I hope you are doing well. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Mpho. I'm a CA and we generally talk all things business, careers, properties, and sometimes a little bit about life. Today is one of those sometimes day because we're really having another life conversation. I want to talk to you guys about a quarter life crisis or an existential crisis or a midlife crisis that's happening to this 28-year-old girl. I almost didn't talk about this because, we're told to be brave, and it's one of those things that through talking to friends and colleagues and even ex-colleagues, quite honestly, I'm just learning that many of us are going through that, but we're going through it in private or alone. And I thought through sharing my journey or what my experience has been like on here, I would make you on the other side realize that you're not alone. And if you're going through the same thing, this is how I'm dealing with it. So because I like structure, this video will also be structured. So the first part will be just defining exactly what it is that I'm going through or what I mean by an existential crisis or quarter life crisis. And then I will give you guys the steps that I am currently taking to deal or to manage and navigate this time in my life. But before we get into that, I wanted to bring you guys to sort of some personal details about my life so you see where I'm coming from. So I am 28 years old. I'm not scared of mentioning my age. I've been married for 6 years or 7 years, 6 years going on to 7. I've got 2 kids. I'm a CA, as I always mention here, and I earn a good enough salary. I live in a house that I am paying bond for, so I own. And so according to societal standards, you would say this person has it all together. I mean, I'm not the richest person, but if you look at my finances and my health and my relationships and my career, I'm doing pretty good. So why would someone who is doing as good as myself at the age of 28 be feeling lost, be feeling like they may not live up to their potential, be feeling like they're not doing enough in life? Now, I'm sharing my personal story. It's not to brag or anything because there's honestly people doing much better than me, but just to show you that regardless of where you are in life, sometimes we all navigate these feelings of just, is this it? Am I doing enough? And I think especially around this time of late 20s, early 30s, where you start to question whether the values that you had when you were 18, when you picked your career, are they still the values that you have now? And are they what should be carrying you forward for the rest of your career and the rest of your life? So with that out there, why am I having an existential crisis? Why am I having a quarter life crisis? And what am I doing about it? How am I navigating it? So starting with a definition, for those of you who are wondering what the hell or what the heck or WTF is a quarter life crisis. And this TED talk by Smiley captured some of the components quite well. Now, while a quarter life crisis isn't clinically defined, it is acknowledged in pop psychology as just that period from your mid-20s to your early 30s where you feel intense anxiety over the direction as well as the quality of your life. And that is exactly where I am. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic also has made worse these feelings for many of us. And for me personally, I started going to therapy around 2021. So just after the pandemic, I had just had my second baby. And I was just wondering whether, if it was all to end, would I be happy with the impact that I had in my life? And that's quite normal, right? With the pandemic and us having seen people closer to us in age dying, you then start to take stock of your own life and start wondering whether you're spending your time in the way that aligns to your values, whether you are you're having the impact that you want to have, and whether, it is all, you just lose that arrogance that we usually have as young people as it relates to the amount of time that we have. And I guess that's why even psychologists, through researching the podcasts that I listened to, the papers that I read, the YouTube videos, even psychologists were saying that from the pandemic or from 2020 onwards, we've just seen an increase in the number of people, younger people, or the ages of mid-20s to early 30s, that were just presenting with the symptoms of just being like, is this it? Am I doing enough? what if it all ended? And I guess that's because we realize that life is fragile and we need to be spending our time just doing things that we are happy about, or spending our lives and our time in a manner that just represents our values. So whilst yes, this is an anxiety-inducing time, I found it quite helpful for me to look at it as an opportunity to look into my life and find meaning and purpose, within the job that I do and within how I relate to people. So now that we've defined this, how do we deal with all of this life questions that we have during this time in our mid-20s and in our mid-30s? It almost feels like, how we had to pick subjects in our late teens or early teens even, and pick careers for our whole lives. It feels like this is the second stage of that. We've grown a little bit and we need to actually look at the decisions that we took when we were in our teens and see if those are the same values that we hold and if they will be sufficient to actually see us for the rest of our lives. So, second part of this video, how do we actually deal with these feelings? The first advice that I would have, and obviously I'm not a psychologist and this is my opinion and these are things that I have helping me. The first advice though that has worked for me is getting to know myself. Now, as I mentioned, I started therapy, went back to therapy in 2021. And this was with the aim of answering this specific question, with the aim of answering why am I feeling anxiety around my life and around my future? Why am I feeling like I'm not playing to my full potential? Why am I feeling like there is more that I could do? And through speaking to my therapist, through digging back into my early childhood, in my early life, as psychologists love to do, we actually came to the conclusion that everything was fine psychologically. I just needed to answer these questions and align my physical things that I'm doing physically to what my core values at this point in time are. And, it was actually quite nice and reaffirming to learn that there's nothing wrong with myself. I just need to actually this is sort of like the next gear. You're changing gears and you're doing the next thing in your life. And it's actually working towards self-actualization. Now, I say get to know yourself and get to the bottom of why you're feeling like that, because I feel like the last thing that should be happening is that you have these feelings and you're anxious and you feel like you just want to drop wherever you are, drop everything and go look for yourself, because maybe there are underlying health conditions that you would need to have looked at, or health professionals will help you out with, that maybe you wouldn't be able to uncover for yourself on the surface. So instead of just dropping everything and self-diagnosing, I would say see a professional, hold up that mirror and get to know why you have those feelings. If you can't afford therapy on your own and you work in corporate, I would actually say look into the different employee wellness programs that your corporation may have. I know where I work, we actually have eye cares. And anytime that I need therapy, I can give them a call, or I need counseling, I can give them a call and they would be able to help me with that. Same for my family. So, if you can't afford therapy, look at whether there's some benefits that you have from your workplace that you can take advantage of. If you can't do that, see if you can get a mentor, someone who's gone through this, especially if they are very similar to you. It can be a spiritual mentor, it can be someone from a career perspective, but look at getting airtime with someone that has done this before you and someone who can help you out in your career and in your life. The second thing that I am doing is taking stock of where I am versus where I expected to be. And it was actually quite amazing that in doing that, I found that I wasn't behind. I was exactly where I wanted to be, and maybe in a little more steps ahead of that. So what I mean by that is really look at when you were younger and dreaming of you at 28. What did that look like? And for me, I found that I did actually achieve success in those respects, in the way that I had dreamed of as I was a child. What has actually happened is that my values have changed. So in doing that, I'm able to actually thank myself for doing all that I needed to do to get to this point. But at the same time, understanding that I just need to change gears, like I already mentioned at this point in time. It's not like I didn't do what I needed to do. It's not like I failed or, it's just that I have changed and I need to embrace that. Where maybe in the beginning I could have been driven by finances as a measure of success, that has changed. Now I'm looking at having impact in different ways. So having a look at where you are and how you got there, And I think also taking it a little bit a step forward and looking at where you want to be. And then identifying those gaps, right? You can keep a journal, you can speak to people, but identify those gaps and then have a proper action on what you need to do to fill those gaps out. In doing this, right, and identifying where you are, where you need to be, what the gap is, I've usually found that there's two types of actions, or three actually, things that need to happen. The first one would be you have it within yourself to take those steps, so you're able to do the things that you need to do to get to where you need to get. Secondly, it could be maybe you can't do it and you need help. And the third one would be it's just impossible, or you need an act of God or a miracle to help make that happen. So if you believe in miracles, then you pray to make it happen. But you know, usually those are things outside of our controls. But I would say the things that we can control, the things that we can do, let's do them. The things where we need to get help, let's get help. And then pray, you know, to just help put all the pieces together. The third thing that I've already alluded to is just reframe this time of crisis and time of anxiety as an opportunity. It is really a blessing to be able to want to self-actualize. You know, if you look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization, which is all about becoming who you are, is at the top of that pyramid. So if you have actually gone through all of those needs and have all of those other needs satisfied to an extent that now all you want to do is be more of who you are, is to become who you are, that is such a great privilege, and we should look at it like that. We should look at this period of just discomfort as a signal from our inner selves that we need to be growing. We need to be growing towards ourselves. And that is such a privilege, that is such a blessing that we need to be thankful for. And we take it and we run with it. It is a gift if you choose to look at it in that way. And then lastly is becoming bold. You know what, guys, in looking at this in a truthful manner, in a way that takes accountability, and I don't shift all of this to other people, to the, you know, it's within my control. I realized that the reason I feel so anxious, or the reason I've been feeling like I can't do certain things, is just because of fear. And if you strip away that fear, or if you say, I'm going to do it despite or in spite of me being fearful, then that's what courage is all about. You know, you do it fearing, and that's what boldness is about. You go forward and you go for what you want, and you allow yourself to become who you are. It's such an act of boldness, and it's such an act that I believe will be rewarded by God, will be rewarded by just you being in peace with yourself, because you're doing things that you want to be doing. I've also seen in my job over the past few months where I've acted with boldness, where I've suggested things with boldness, things that are more aligning to sort of the type of impact that I want to have in my career. It's paid off. You know, I've had really great moments of joy from that. And even in my personal life, you know. So yeah, you know, be bold and just see that if it's fear alone that's standing in the way of you becoming yourself, look at the great people who've had to achieve what they have, quite honestly. You know, we look at them and we think, oh, you know, they must have some superpowers to have been able to, let's say, quit jobs, to have been able to move countries, to have been able to start businesses, to have been able to spend time with their kids, you know, decide that that's what they want to do, or to even have been able to follow their careers all the way through. We think those people must have some supernatural powers, but honestly, they doing it fearful as well. They doing it bold. And that's what you and I need to start doing as well. There's no supernatural power that's necessarily going to save us. I mean, yes, we do it bold, we do it fearful, and we pray about it. That's all that's going to make our dreams happen. You know, that's how we are going to become more of ourselves. Yeah, anyways, you guys, I hope you found this useful. I hope you learned something from this video. It was quite something to put together. But yeah, let me know in the comment section how you're feeling. And I must also apologize for those emails that I haven't gone back to. It's just been a difficult time in my job as well as at home. So I hope you guys understand, and I will get back to you, I promise. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, keep well.